Every year in the Ontario construction industry, there are more than 800 lost time injuries due to ladder accidents. It is our goal here at Power-Tek to not contribute to those statistics. Hi, I'm Joel. I'm an electrician at Power-Tek, and I'm here to inform you on Power-Tek's safe work policy regarding ladders. With ladders, there are a lot of things to consider before you even set one up. The first thing is, what kind of ladder is going to do this job for me and do it safest? How long of a ladder do I need? There are several types of ladders that we have here at Power-Tek. We have A-frame step ladders, we have platform ladders, we have extension ladders, we have straight ladders, and probably more. We have an aluminum jaws ladder, I know for sure. With all ladders, the first thing you want to do when you go to use it is you want to inspect it. You want to look at it for any broken rungs, any broken sidebars, any cracks in the fiberglass, any kind of the building material that looks like it's old and brittle. You want to pay attention to this. If any of the rivets are starting to fail, you need to bring it to Graham, bring it to the office and tag it, or throw it out if it's really bad. Always make sure that you're working with a good ladder. Make sure that you're using a ladder that will help you safely reach what you're trying to do. The extension ladders, what you need to do, you need to make sure that your extension ladder extends at least 3 feet above the place where you're going. You need to make sure that it's fastened on the top and secure at the bottom. If you don't have an option at the bottom, you can just have somebody hold it there for you while you ascend the ladder to the top. You need to make sure that the bottom and the top areas where you get off the ladder are clear of debris and clean, so you can make the move off the ladder without stumbling or tripping on something. If you're going to be working off of an extension ladder, you need to make sure that the rung that you stand on is no higher than the fourth from the top of the ladder. Perhaps you're going to need a taller ladder than one that you have, but we're not to walk up right near the top of an extension ladder and then standing, way up above trying to do some work. That's unsafe and it's against policy. With extension ladders and straight ladders, sometimes we can be tempted to use them horizontally as a bridge or even two of them to support some planks. Do not do this. Do not use a ladder as it was not intended to be used. Before we set up a ladder, we need to look around and see the area that we're setting up. You need to see, is it flat, is it level, is it firm? If it's not any of those things, you need to look and see how you're going to make it flat, level, and firm. If you're working outside in some loose soil that's not compacted, that's not maybe going to support all 4 legs of your A-frame ladder equally, you might want to consider putting something in place to hold it, to level the ground, and to make it firm. You could consider using a sheet of plywood to set up underneath, set your ladder on top so that you're not going to have ladder tips. You don't want that happening. When you put a sheet of plywood onto the soft soil or on the snow, it can act like a snowshoe to balance your weight and keep you safe. Another thing we can use when leaning an extension ladder onto a building for access up or down is something called a mud sill. And a mud sill can act in a similar way to this, but it can go underneath and behind the extension ladder to keep it from going down or sliding back and kicking out. In order to minimize the kick out possibility, what we want to do is we want to put stakes into that soft ground. All portable ladders that we go and set up on a job site or we go and use for service work, including step ladders, is they have to have a non-slip base. So you have to have some rubber on the bottom, some grip on the bottom. So if you set this up in a hallway somewhere and you're just going up into the ceiling tile, you're not going to have your ladder shift on you and slip. Now you need to make sure with a step ladder that when you set it up, you lock both sides and that your ladder is sitting square. You don't want it to start moving or shifting or, at worst case, fall over while you're climbing on top of it. Another thing that we never do in this policy is set up our ladder on a moving vehicle or a lift or on top of boxes or carts or anything that is going to slide out of the way. We don't do that. You can't go up with a scissor lift and put your 6-foot ladder up to achieve a little bit extra height. I know that sometimes that is done, but we need to talk to somebody on site and see if there's a safer way to do that or if we can avoid doing that because it's actually against our health and safety policy. When you're ascending a ladder or descending a ladder, you need to always make sure to be facing the ladder. You cannot try and do some kind of weird thing coming down backwards. Not safe, not acceptable. You need to try and maintain 3 points of contact and carefully descend, watching your step as you go. All metal ladders, we have a JAWS ladder for instance, and electricians are not to be using aluminum ladders for electrical work with energized conductors. Sometimes the JAWS ladder may allow you to reach a spot where a typical ladder would not. And in that situation, you must ensure that you are not going to access any kind of energized conductors with a metal ladder. Any wood ladders, we don't have many wood ladders, but they need to be either unpainted or finished with a clear, non-conductive wood preservative. Another thing to talk about as far as ladder locations go is, are you setting up a ladder in a high traffic area? I have experienced setting up a ladder on the back of a door where somebody actually opened the door and bumped into my ladder. I had not put suitable signage on the other side, so it wasn't their fault, it was mine. And so what you need to do when you're working in a doorway like that, you need to have signage warning people not to open the door, or even a barrier so people don't open the door. You need to make sure it's noticeable because you don't want to get knocked off that ladder. Also, if it's a walkway, if it's a stairway, if it's wherever you're setting up, if there's going to be traffic, a driveway or a roadside, you need to have sufficient barriers and signage in place to avoid the possibility that somebody is going to knock you off the ladder. You may need to have somebody on the ground even to make sure that there's no traffic coming your area. You don't want anybody to be under your ladder. You don't want to be in an area where you find out 5 minutes after you get up, you're working, and then a bunch of kids come out on recess and they're all around your ladder and you haven't given yourself any barriers or protection and you don't have somebody at the bottom. And so now you put yourself at risk because, these kids come out and they're all crowding around. So we need to think about where we're working. We need to think about what ladder we're using, use the best one for the job, and use it safely. In this policy, we all have our responsibilities. Management has a responsibility to supply us with good ladders. If you have a ladder on your site or in your work van that looks like it's breaking down, that has an issue with it, then exchange it at the office for a better one. Make sure that you have safe equipment. That's management's responsibility to have that available to you. It is also management's responsibility to inform and discuss this policy with all workers and make them aware. This video mainly does that and communicates what the policy is so you can live by it. It is supervisors' responsibility to enforce the policy and to enable workers to do the work safely, to have safe ladders available on their site for all the tasks that need to be performed. And as workers, we are responsible to make sure that we're not using unsafe ladders, to make sure that we're following the policy and we're using ladders as we should be in a safe manner and avoiding accidents. Realistically, in the end, it's mostly up to you to make sure that accidents don't happen when working with ladders. We have everything provided for us to do work safely, and so we have to abide by these procedures and policies and keep ourselves safe. After learning about ladders and informing you on all this policy that we have, I feel safer already, and I hope you do too. Have an excellent day.